So today, we're going to dive into one of the most fundamental human fears out there, the fear of non-existence. We're going to look at it from a spiritual perspective that offers a path not just to, cope with this anxiety, but to dissolve it completely and find a really profound state of bliss.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question that gets to the heart of it. What scares you more? The idea of dying, or the thought that your identity, your whole story, never really mattered in the first place? The answer to that is pretty central to the journey we're about to explore.
So to really get a handle on this deep-seated anxiety, we've got to trace it back to its source. And according to the philosophy we're looking at, this fear comes from a very specific kind of imbalance, a fundamental disconnection from a sense of unity with everything. Now, this imbalance is tied to what's known as the crown chakra. It's our connection to transcendence, to unity. And when that connection is weak, well, we can feel really separate and just untethered. This feeling creates this compulsive need to build a fixed, definable identity, to become a someone, just to feel like we exist at all.
So you see, this fear, it goes way deeper than just being afraid of dying. It's the terror that the whole story we've built around me is just going to dissolve, leaving absolutely nothing behind. We cling to this story, this fixed identity, because we're taught to believe it's the only thing anchoring our existence.
Okay, so this fear isn't just some abstract idea, right? It shows up in very real, personal ways. And our source material illustrates this perfectly through the stories of two friends, Henry and William, who each had to face this anxiety, but in a totally different way.
And their stories really shine a light on the two main battlegrounds for this fear. For Henry, the crisis was internal. He was battling the fragile persona he built for himself. But for William, the crisis was social. He was battling the fear of just not existing in the eyes of other people.
So let's start with Henry. He was desperately trying to find a stable identity, so he tried to define himself with a list of traits. I'm confident, optimistic, calm. But the whole illusion just crumbled the second he remembered all the times he was actually shy or pessimistic or irritable. He suddenly realized his self wasn't fixed at all, and that realization, the shattering of his story, sent him into a total panic.
And then there's William. His anxiety was all about his social identity. Because he didn't really fit into other people's boxes, he was often seen as an anomaly. This sparked a really terrifying question for him. If I exist outside of society's accepted structure, do I even exist in a meaningful way? He was dealing with this profound sense of social non-existence.
But here's the thing. Through all that struggle, William had this incredible insight. He realized that when we force these fixed identities on ourselves and other people, it's a kind of quiet violence. It takes the living, breathing, unfolding person and freezes them into a static, lifeless reputation. It basically suffocates who we really are. Okay, so we've laid out the problem, a deep fear that's rooted in our attachment to a fixed idea of who we are. So, what's the solution? Well, it isn't about fighting the fear or trying to build a stronger identity. Instead, it's about a radical shift in perspective that dissolves the fear entirely.
The cure here is gratitude, but probably not the kind you're thinking of. There's transactional gratitude. That's being thankful for something, like a good job or a stable identity. But then there's transformational gratitude. This is a state of being thankful as awareness itself. It's this constant orientation of being grateful just for the ability to witness reality, even the uncomfortable parts, like fear.
So how does this actually work? Well, first, you just observe the fear. You witness it without judging it. Then, and this is the key, you shift your gratitude to the awareness itself, the part of you that is watching the fear. In that moment, you realize that this awareness exists before the fear and is totally untouched by it. And just like that, the fear loses its grip. It becomes just an appearance, a passing cloud that has no real power over you.
Let's circle back to Henry. His big breakthrough came when he stopped trying to be grateful for his specific identity. Instead, he became thankful for what he called the empty vessel, that pure, open capacity to hold any identity or experience. He lost his fear of non-existence because he finally got it. He was never a fixed thing in the first place. He was the flow itself.
And William? He found a similar kind of release. By letting go of his need for everyone else's approval, he didn't find an empty void. He found a bliss in his consciousness. He discovered that letting go of a fixed identity isn't a rejection of yourself. It's actually the ultimate form of self-acceptance, a movement toward your real, authentic self.
So once this gratitude thing works its magic and dissolves the fear of non-existence, where do you end up? What's the final stop on this inner journey?
Well, the source material calls it pure bliss. Now, this isn't the kind of happiness that comes and goes depending on your day. It's defined as the still joy of perfect sufficiency. Think about that. It's the natural harmony of reality itself, a state where nothing is missing, nothing is separate, and nothing is wrong.
To take it even deeper, this pure bliss is described as the very energy of the universe, the eternal self-love of the One. It's the loving awareness that holds up all of creation. The wild part is, this isn't something you have to go out and get. It's about realizing what you already are.
This realization, it's the final piece of the puzzle. By letting go of the ego's constant project to define and defend itself, you don't build a new identity. You experience an instant transformation. You stop identifying with the passing thoughts and feelings and can finally just rest as the unchanging witness behind it all. Ultimately, the whole journey beyond the fear of non-existence leads to this one simple but incredibly profound realization. You aren't a candle that needs to be lit or a reflection that depends on something else. You are the light that shines by itself, eternally, completely.